Well, the autopsy is now underway after the power died for millions of Texans last week. A positive tidbit: executives from NRG and the parent company of TXU testified in Austin that the crazy expenses they had to pay last week to keep producing electricity will not be passed on to consumers now. Of course, most consumers are protected anyway because they are on fixed-rate plans. We've heard, though, about the stratospheric electric bills for people who were on variable-rate plans. Some of them didn't even know they were on those, in fact, because they may have automatically been kicked onto one of those plans when the term of their previous electricity agreement ran out. Now, the governor says he is working with the legislature to help electric consumers hit with staggering invoices. This week, I asked his office for a timeline and some specific ideas that they are considering. I will let you know when I get a response. Last thing, if you want to shop for an electricity plan, I do this regularly. Beware, there are some websites that look like the official state electricity shopping page. So I have a direct link to the one that you want to use. And when you get there, on the panel to the left under the plan type, I recommend, especially because of last week, that you only check fixed rate plans. Anyway, it's all in today's article that's posted at Jason Wheeler TV on Facebook and Twitter, where we keep it right on the money.